Chapter 2, Mishnah 3. The Mishnah presents laws that are based on the disqualification of pressing, which means that the slaughterer cut the pipes by pressing the knife down instead of using a sawing motion, i.e. moving the knife back and forth. If someone cut off the head of an animal with one stroke, that is, he chopped it off with a sharp downward blow, his shechita is invalid because the Torah disqualifies an act of shechita in which the knife is pressed downward. The Mishnah cites more laws based on this type of disqualification. If someone was slaughtering an animal in the required manner, i.e. a sawing motion, and he cut the head off with one stroke, either a forward or a backward stroke, the law is that if the blade of the knife measures a full neck's width more than the neck of the animal, i.e. the blade's length is double the width of the animal's neck, his shechita is valid because a blade of that length can cut the pipes with a single sawing stroke, and so we may assume that he did not press it down. If someone was slaughtering and he cut two heads of two animals with one stroke, the law is that if the knife measures a full neck's width more than the width of the necks of both animals, his shechita is valid because such a knife can cut both necks with a single sawing stroke without being pressed down. In what case do these laws apply? That is, when must the knife measure one neck width more than the neck or necks being slaughtered? When he moved the knife forward and not backward, or he moved it backward and not forward, i.e. he completed the shechita with just one stroke. But if he moved it both forward and backward, then however short the blade, even if he cut with a scalpel, his shechita is valid because a double stroke, forward and backward, can cut the pipes without any pressing, regardless of the blade's length. Another case in which the shechita is disqualified. If a knife fell by itself and slaughtered an animal, even if it slaughtered it in the proper way, with a sawing motion, the shechita is invalid. Because it is stated in Devarim, chapter 12, verse 21, and you shall slaughter, and you shall eat, which implies, what you slaughter you may eat. That is, only what a person slaughters is permitted to be eaten. The Mishnah discusses the disqualification of pausing during the shechita. If the knife fell out of the slaughterer's hand after he had begun to cut, and he picked it up and then continued cutting, or if some of his clothes fell off after he had begun to cut, and he picked them up and then continued cutting, or he sharpened the knife and thus became tired, and then he began to slaughter but lacked the strength to continue, and his friend came and slaughtered what remained, the law is that if in any of these cases he paused the amount of time it takes to slaughter an animal of this type, a large animal, a small animal, or a bird, the shechita is invalid. A different view, Rabbi Shimon says, if he paused the amount of time it takes to examine the knife to make sure it is smooth, the shechita is invalid.